What's up, guys? Welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. We're gonna just be talking about Taiwan today and coronavirus and how Taiwan is reacting and how people are reacting within Taiwan. So let's get into it. The reason we're talking about Taiwan today is, first off, I live here. I'm very familiar with what they're doing and what their approach is. And secondly, Taiwan seems to be a special case because while we are getting increased infections lately, we are still keeping them very well contained, and it seems that Taiwan is not going into lockdown. There are some fears that we might go into lockdown within the next few months, but as of right now, Taiwan is very comfortable with what they're doing, and life is continuing as normal. Jobs are still operating. Regarding what Taiwan's approach to this virus is way back at the end of January 20th, roughly, when the virus started, Taiwan began taking a serious look at it. They began to see what they can do and see what regulations they need to put in place, using their background with the SARS virus from mid-2000s, I believe, as a historical viewpoint of what's going to potentially happen. During this time when they started creating the regulations, though, most elementary schools and public schools actually had their winter holiday. So they were on vacation for around 2 weeks, with Chinese New Year falling at that time as well. That was January 24th, Chinese New Year started, till January 30th. The elementary schools were supposed to return to classes after that, but then they had an extended holiday for another 2 weeks, just because people were very worried about the virus spreading within schools at that time. So after they all came back, those schools began implementing the same routines as privatized schools. I should mention at this time that privatized schools were not closed at all during this time. So you have cram schools and you have kindergartens, both of which continued to work during this 2-week interval when public schools had an extended holiday. However, these privatized institutions were still following the government regulations, checking temperatures, spraying your hands to clean them with alcohol spray, and wearing masks all times of the day. Taiwan is also keeping news readily available to the public. We have constant news updates on TV, as well as websites available that have daily updates with cases reported, regulations going into place, and what is actually happening inside the country. So every time there's a new case, basically we have a summary at the end of the day on the websites. I'm not too familiar with the TV, unfortunately, because it is all in Chinese, obviously living in Taiwan, but the websites are available in English, so they have summaries of daily on how many cases have been discovered to this day, as well as just an update on where they are being quarantined and what is going on in approach to this. Recently, actually, there were some university workers who found out they had the virus, and then there was a press conference from the university talking about precautions they are taking as well as what their next steps are. Alongside this, there's also reports on how this virus, or the cancellation of a lot of flights, is going to affect foreigners within Taiwan. So the other day I was seeing a news article on a few foreigners who were trapped within the airport, the international airport in Taipei, because they were supposed to take another airplane all the way to New Zealand, but New Zealand has locked down its airports, so no one can get in or out. So Taiwan was discussing how they might potentially give them a visa, or they might allow them an extended stay, or some alternative they can do to get out of the country. In addition to these people, there are many foreign workers within Taiwan, and these people sometimes have to do visa runs, so these people have been allowed to take an extended stay. This extended stay has a few regulations about it. I'll link an article below, as well as a few articles just talking about various foreigners who are trapped here, if I can find it. But there are rules you have to follow if you want to extend your visa. Besides these foreigners who are directly impacted by this, there is another group of foreigners in Taiwan, those who have residency here, because a lot of jobs within Taiwan actually provide you a residency card. Is one of the great benefits of it. So these people are relatively unaffected by these regulations. Of course, if we go into lockdown, it's more worrisome about where your money will come from, whether you're going to get paid your full amount, especially since many workers in Taiwan are paid hourly. So if they are not teaching, they have to find alternatives for what they can do to actually pay their rent or get food or anything really. So this group is unaffected directly by the visa extension, but that's not to say we're unaffected by the virus. Taiwan has, with the start of its regulations, you have seen a mass increase in people wearing masks out in public, as well as even at the grocery store or gym or clinics. They are also adopting at a lot of institutions or businesses temperature checks when you walk in. So my work, obviously, when you're teaching, you check the kids' temperature, you have to teach them hygiene, all of this. But even when I go into the gym now, they check your temperature. When you go into the grocery store, they're going to check your temperature. They have alcohol spray stationed there for anyone to use. And when you go into a clinic especially, you need a mask, otherwise you cannot get helped. You get your temperature checked, and you also get your hands sprayed, just to prevent the infection spreading there. In addition to the clinics and everywhere checking your temperature, there have also been a few cancelled events. So even though Taiwan only has around 260 cases, I think, at this moment in time, it is obviously going to change over the next few days. Some people have recovered, some people will get infected. Most of our cases are still from international travelers. We don't have a lot of people getting infected within Taiwan, although it is starting to slowly rise. So some events have been canceled because they don't want a group of people within a very confined room. So for instance, there was an event in Taipei 3 or 4 weeks ago. At this point we only had like 80 cases in all of Taiwan, which has a couple million people, but they still canceled the event just as a precaution. So I did not end up getting to go, and this is a fairly common occurrence. I know even schools in other countries are also doing the same thing. But it's interesting that Taiwan is adopting the same regulations, although we're not facing a direct lockdown. So a lot of people are becoming even more and more concerned that a lockdown is imminent, and it is happening within the next few weeks even. Now, as of right now, people are still going outside and still visiting friends. You can still eat at restaurants and all of this. But the threat of the lockdown is growing bigger and bigger, so people are becoming more worried. I mentioned earlier about how some people are hourly. Some people, like those who have residency within Taiwan, can potentially get salaried positions. So they have a guaranteed source of income, albeit it might be restricted a little bit. I know, for instance, mine, as of right now, what we've been told is that we will get some of our salary, but we will not get the full amount because we are not officially teaching during this time, because we will be on lockdown. If we do go under lockdown, we will get a portion of our salary. It can increase depending on how much teaching we are able to give the kids, but it will not be the full amount. That being said, I know worldwide this is a problem. Many people are becoming more and more concerned, especially teachers, about how to present their students' information or keep their students on track with what they want. I spoke to my nephew a few days ago in Canada, and right now they are on lockdown. There is no schooling there, and my nephew is just not taking classes. He does not have to do anything over there. Here in Taiwan, because of the difference in culture, that would not go over well. In Taiwan, parents are very much interested in their kids doing homework, interested in their kids doing tests. Because of the school system in Taiwan, kids are pushed to continually do either homework or a project or something written, some form of practice. For those who don't know, Taiwan's school system is based heavily on testing. So I believe in elementary school you take a test to figure out which middle school you can go. It's like a tiered system. So you elementary school, take a test for middle school, take a test for high school, and then a test for senior high school, and then university. Anything you can do within Taiwan is based on your test scores from your previous institution. So parents here are very much concerned with making sure their kid is continually doing work and continually improving their skills. So all in all, the virus has really not affected day-to-day life in Taiwan too much. There was a brief period after it initially started where people were very, very nervous about it. As of now, it seems it's kind of subsided a little bit. We're very worried about a lockdown at this point, and we are getting a little nervous about the rising viruses, but it seems Taiwan is doing fairly well on maintaining their organization and handling everything that comes with the viruses. People are facing quarantines, and these quarantines are heavily supported by the government or enforced by the government. Some people have even faced fines for breaking it, and the society in Taiwan itself, the people within it, are very adamant about following their government's directives, as opposed to back in Canada or America, where when you had spring break, you had people wanting to go outside or to the beach. In Taiwan, you don't have that. People are very respectful of what the government's asking of them, and as such, Taiwan has been successful so far in mitigating what could potentially be a disaster. That being said, we will see how this situation evolves as the time changes and as people get more and more nervous, or we get more and more infected people. As of now, most of our infections are still from abroad. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Until next time, make sure you listen to your government. Make sure you wash your hands. The reason Taiwan has been so successful up till now is because their society is pushing everyone. They're enforcing everyone. They're enforcing that everyone listens to the government and everyone does their part. And that's the biggest thing you can do. See ya.